Why do so many people despise dog breeders, even ones that claim to be ethical? In this video, we'll uncover the shocking reasons why dog breeders are so hated. Behind every expensive puppy, there's a story breeders don't want you to hear. And once you know the truth, you might never support them again. Now let's expose the uncomfortable truths behind dog breeding. Number 1. Dog breeders profit. While millions of dogs die in shelters, every time you buy a puppy from a breeder, a shelter dog loses its chance at life. Think about that for a second. Shelters are packed with dogs who are desperate for a home, yet breeders keep making more, just to make a profit. Millions of these shelter dogs are euthanized every year simply because there aren't enough homes. And the sad part? Most of them are healthy, loving, and just as deserving as any purebred dog. But because people are willing to pay top dollar for a specific breed, those dogs get left behind. If you love dogs, this should make you furious. And it only gets worse when you see what's happening behind the scenes. Number 2. Breeders are making puppy mills out of control. Have you ever wondered where all these puppies actually come from? Most people don't, but the reality is horrifying. Every year, 4.3 million puppies are born in puppy mills, filthy, overcrowded places where dogs are treated like breeding machines. Most of these mills operate illegally, hiding in the shadows while selling sick, neglected puppies to stores and online buyers. And here's the thing. Breeders fuel this industry by creating demand for purebred dogs. Even if a breeder claims to be responsible, their business keeps puppy mills running. You'd think breeders would care, right? But instead, they look the other way while dogs suffer. Number 3. Breeders have destroyed dog health for the sake of looks. The dog breeds you love? Many are suffering because of human greed. Breeders have spent decades prioritizing looks over health, and dogs are paying the price. Pugs and French bulldogs struggle to breathe. German shepherds can barely walk. And Cavaliers live with painful brain disorders. Over 41.6% of mill puppies develop serious health issues. But those problems don't always show up right away. You could buy a puppy, fall in love, and then get hit with huge vet bills and heartbreaking medical issues later. And guess what? Breeders know this happens, but they keep breeding anyway. And the worst part? These dogs aren't just suffering from bad genetics. They're suffering from the way they're treated too. Number 4. They breed dogs like factory machines, then throw them away. If a breeding dog isn't useful anymore, they're tossed like trash. Imagine spending your whole life trapped in a tiny cage, forced to give birth over and over again. That's what happens to hundreds of thousands of breeding dogs, most of them female. Some start breeding as young as 4 months old, way before their bodies are ready. They are exhausted, malnourished, and sick. And the moment they stop being profitable, they're discarded. 77,000 female breeding dogs are thrown away every single year. Many are abandoned, shot, or drowned because their owners don't want to spend money caring for them. It's a brutal reality, but it's all part of a much bigger system of abuse. Number 5. Buying from breeders feeds the puppy pipeline of abuse. Have you ever thought about how puppies get from breeders to pet stores? Most people don't, but it's a disgusting process. Almost half of all puppy mill dogs are shipped off to pet stores, traveling in filthy transport trucks with no food, water, or care. Many arrive sick, terrified, or barely alive. Pet stores clean them up, slap a high price tag on them, and sell them to people who have no idea where they really came from. The truth? 90% of pet store puppies come from mills. And when people buy them, they're directly supporting a system that abuses and neglects dogs. Number 6. Reputable breeders are just a marketing gimmick. You've probably heard people say, "Well, I got my dog from a responsible breeder." But here's the problem. Breeders still take homes away from shelter dogs. 34% of pet dogs come from breeders, while shelters are overflowing with dogs who need homes. And when people can't keep their dogs anymore, most breeders won't take them back. Those dogs often end up abandoned in shelters or worse. So even if a breeder isn't running a puppy mill, they're still making the overpopulation crisis worse. Number 7. Breeders keep pushing. Purebred lies. You've probably heard that purebred dogs are higher quality. That's a lie. Mixed breeds live longer, have fewer genetic diseases, and are overall healthier. Studies have proven this, but breeders won't admit it, because their entire business depends on people believing in the myth of the perfect purebred. Instead of improving dog health, breeders double down on inbreeding. They create dogs that are prone to blindness, epilepsy, hip dysplasia, and even heart failure. If they actually cared about the well-being of dogs, they'd stop promoting purebred superiority. But they don't, because sick dogs mean more vet visits, and more vet visits mean even more money flowing through the industry. Number 8. They're fueling the overpopulation crisis. And taxpayers pay the price. You're paying the price for the mess breeders are creating. Dog overpopulation isn't just a tragedy, it's a financial disaster. Every year, millions of taxpayer dollars are spent on shelter operations, food, medical care, and euthanasia for abandoned dogs. But here's the kicker. Breeders keep flooding the market with more puppies, making the crisis worse. Instead of working to reduce the number of homeless dogs, they profit while shelters struggle. That means your tax dollars are paying to fix a problem that breeders keep fueling. Number 9. They break dog owners' hearts. By selling sick puppies, you might think you're buying a healthy puppy, but you could be buying heartbreak. People trust breeders to sell them a healthy, happy dog. But the truth? Many breeders don't care about health, they care about sales. Puppies from breeders, especially those sold online, are more likely to have parvovirus, kennel cough, mange, and deadly genetic disorders. Some of these illnesses don't show up until months or even years later. That means by the time you realize something's wrong, it's too late. You're left with enormous vet bills, watching your dog suffer, and there's nothing you can do. And what happens when you reach out to the breeder? They either ignore you or blame you for the dog's condition. This cycle has left thousands of dog owners devastated, but breeders just move on to the next sale. And they have no problem playing with your emotions to keep the money flowing. Number 10. Online breeders are often scammers or puppy mill middlemen. If you buy a puppy online, there's a good chance you're being scammed. The internet has made it easier than ever for breeders and puppy mill brokers to trick buyers. 36% of people find their dogs online, but what they don't realize is that many of these sites are fronts for puppy mills. They use fake photos, made-up health guarantees, and even staged happy family videos to make you believe you're buying from a loving breeder. And when people realize they've been scammed, it's already too late. The puppy is sick, the money is gone, and the so-called breeder disappears. Number 11. They fight against the Adopt, Don't Shop movement. The Adopt, Don't Shop movement has saved millions of lives, but breeders hate it. Why? Because every adoption takes money out of their pockets. Instead of supporting adoption, many breeders spread misinformation about shelter dogs. They say shelter dogs are unpredictable, poorly trained, or aggressive. The truth? Most shelter dogs are there because of irresponsible humans, not because something is wrong with them. They're just as loving, trainable, and loyal as any purebred dog. The only difference? They weren't born into a system that puts profit over their well-being. The more people learn about the truth, the harder it gets for breeders to keep justifying what they do. Now that you know the truth, where do you stand? Do you think dog breeding has any place in today's world? Or is it time to shut it down for good? If you still support breeders, why? What part of this reality are you okay with? And if you're against breeding, what would you do to stop it? Would you adopt instead? Spread awareness? Push for stricter laws? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think about this controversial topic.